I am Nick Shell, and I am a certified Enneagram coach. If you're unsure of what your Enneagram is, you can pay $15 by clicking the link, getting this off of Amazon, and it will really do like the title says, it will make Enneagram easy for you. Another thing is, Nick, I don't have $15. Well, okay. Do you have free? Because I can offer free for you as well. You'll see another link. You can take the test for free. It takes about 10 minutes on the Cloverleaf site, and it'll probably give you good direction on who you are versus who you think that you are. Another option, you could always become certified as I am. Boy, is that the best investment I've ever made in my life. Yes, it is. There's a link for that as well. So what I want to focus on specifically is taking an Enneagram test. So here's something I've learned as a certified Enneagram coach. About 70% of the time, I can accurately call it. I can have a 30-second conversation with a person and they'll give me some kind of signs. I'm going to red flag that they don't even know that they're waving at me, and I can say, here's what you are. And I can describe them in their stress personality and their growth, and they're like, how do you know me so well? About 70% of the time I can do that. About 30%, not so much. I'm probably looking at who they are in their growth or their stress, and it throws me off. And until they actually take a test, then we find out who they are. I thought my wife was a 9, the peacemaker, but I was looking at her in an environment more so on the weekends when she's relaxed. I wasn't analyzing her, who she was at work. So here we go. Here's 3 tips that I have for if you want to take an Enneagram test and get accurate results. Here's what I'm going to say, comparing it to me, analyzing people with my book in comparison with the test. Here's what I would say to do. Number 1, I would recommend Cloverleaf. Yes, that's where I got my certification from, and that's not the reason why I'm saying them. I'm saying their test is the most clear. It's the clearest as far as here's your Enneagram and here's your wing. And by the way, by default, here's your growth and here's your stress. I don't like those tests where they're like, well, you're this much of this one and this much of this one and this. Because look, we're all a little bit of all 9. We already know that. What we need it to be clear. What is your baseline Enneagram? Because that tells us for sure what your stress and your growth are. And I like that about Enneagram through Cloverleaf. It is free. And if you're paying attention, it only going to take about 10 minutes. It's just yes or no questions. You can knock it out in about 10 minutes. So that's the first tip I have for you. Click that link below for the Cloverleaf test, not the other tests out there. Cloverleaf. Number 2, what I would say is, as you're taking the test, I suggest that you think of it from a mindset of how you act at work on an average day. Not a stressful day, not an easy day, but an average day. Because when you're at work, you have to use your skills that are part of your Enneagram. That's why you're good at your job, or why at least you chose to be in that profession. Because you have a unique skill set that's based on your Enneagram that causes you to think a certain way. For me, I'm a recruiter. I'm assertive and I'm positive. I'm Enneagram 8 with a 7 wing. So it takes someone who's positive and assertive to be good at what I do in the way that I do it. So an average day, if I'm answering these questions accordingly, I'm thinking about how would I act at work. Now, the reason I would suggest thinking of that way is because that is often going to point to who you are as the base. Not you relaxed in your growth, and I also don't want you to do it on a stressful day at work, because then that would probably point to your stress. An average day at work is the best mindset to go with. Otherwise, you might end up testing as your stress or your growth personality. Lastly, I would suggest that you have someone in the room with you who knows you very well, a family member, a close friend, because there's going to be some questions where, like, I don't know, either of these could be right. What do you think? How do you think I act in these situations? And ask them. There's probably going to be about 5 questions that you'll feel more confident in if you've got somebody in the room with you. Because what you don't want to do is take this test from the perspective of who you think you are or who you wish to be. Because that's a problem. And that's ultimately how Enneagram often does. It helps us to understand more about ourselves, because who we think we are often is that growth personality. By taking a good Enneagram test, it allows us to be honest with ourselves and actually learn about ourselves. So sometimes having someone else in the room, I would highly recommend to have somebody in the room with you that knows you well. So the 3 tips: take the test on Cloverleaf, the link's below. I would say when you're answering the questions, do it from a mindset of how do I act and think at work, but not on a specifically stressful day. And then lastly, have somebody in the room with you to ask which one of these better describes me. It's always great to have an outside opinion. And hey, I would love to know how you tested. You know how you can do that? Well, click the link and then afterwards, tell me what's your Enneagram and your wing based on your Cloverleaf test. And I would love to know, how did it compare with what you thought you were? It's a lot of fun. Tell me right here.